Thank you for staying with us. Now let's talk about another security, food security. On Tuesday, the 10th of April, the construction of a $510 million special agro-industrial processing zone financed by the AfDB and development partners was launched in Kaduna State. Of course, the groundbreaking is for the first of the 8 SAPZ projects. There are 7 others coming. Calabar, beg your pardon, Cross River State has also launched. Kano, Kwara, Imo, Ogun, Oyo, and the Federal Capital Territory are awaiting progress. And preparations are underway for the second phase of the program, which will cover the remaining 28 states. And I understand about $22 billion has been mobilized for that one already. But we just finished speaking about security or a lack of it, Alero. And I think it was you that even mentioned that people, before you can harvest your farm, your fruit, okay, was Mr. Adetayo, before you can harvest your crops, you pay. Now, is that going to happen under an SAPZ project? Let's have conversations with Dr. Abdul Kamara, who is the Director General, Nigeria Office of the AfDB. He joins us virtually. Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you for having me.
Well, let me begin with that question. Is a concern. Will the people who are going to, who are on this project, tell us about the security apparatus that will protect their investments?
Well, thank you very much, Ayo. I mean, security is clearly key. Agriculture being an operation that is land-based, but I can assure you that the investments that we are doing, and of course, along with others in the special agro-industrial processing zone, which already most of the listeners will know, the first phase is currently being implemented in 7 states. We have Cross River, where, as you rightly said, we just launched last week. Kaduna, where we already have launched as well. Actually, the groundbreaking, meaning that we actually have signed contract with contractors to start, rolling out the construction work. We have Imo State. We also have Ogun, Oyo, Kano, and others, plus the Federal Capital Area. So, as you can see, we have a very exhaustive criteria in selecting which states that we should start with, which states that should be in the medium term, and of course, the ideal is to leave no states behind. So clearly, this is a program that is a government-led program and private sector enabled. And why are we saying that? We are saying that because the volume and the magnitude of resources that is required to really build a special agro-industry processing, hub, but also the agricultural transformation centers, and do the groundwork at the upstream level where farmers produce.
Just one second, Dr. Kamara.
Yes.
My apologies. When you say government enabled, please speak to the security part of it. I know that Dr. Adesina said that the government enablement means that it is the government that provides the land. Will the government also fence the zone? Will it be fenced? Will the government also facilitate security of the agro-industrial processing zone or hub, whatever it is?
Ayo, the primary responsibility of government is to provide security of the citizens, provide security of their assets, and also provide a level playing field for investments to flow in. And I think this government is doing everything possible to assure that. So the short answer to your question is yes. So we put this criteria to governors. We look through them. And of course, security is one of them. But we also look at the preparedness to host the hub. That means, as you rightly said, whether land is available, but also whether that land has already, been looked at in terms of feasibility studies, environmental impact assessment, and more importantly, whether they have even been, some preliminary engagement with possible investors. As you know, our own investment, the African Development Bank, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, Islamic Development Bank, and others that are coming on board, is only catalytic. And what do I mean? Catalytic in doing a couple of things. For example, the upstream. There are ancillary programs that are already ongoing. One we call the NAGS, the National Agriculture Growth Scheme Program, which is $134 million, fully disbursed. What does the NAGS do? The NAGS is an electronic wallet system that links farmers to last mile agro dealers. And that is why you see wheat production, for example, in several of the northern states, Katsina, Bono, Kanu, Kaduna, and all of those picking up. What we don't want is, we don't want to build these hubs and eventually they become an enclave or what you might call a white elephant. So those boxes are ticked correctly for the states where you already are seeing these programs being rolled out in terms of security, in terms of feasibility studies, in terms of readiness, but also in terms of identifying possible anchor investors or even tenants that might move into the zones. I know it's difficult. States are at different levels of readiness, especially when it comes to security, but we are very confident that we will get there. It might not be today or tomorrow for all states, but eventually we are going to leave no state behind.
Okay, Dr. Kamara, can you break it down for us, please? If I was a smallholding farmer, for instance, how can I be a part of this?
There are several mechanisms of becoming part of this. Firstly, I was just speaking of the NAGS, which already is running. But on the zones, specifically these zones that have been selected, there are going to be stakeholder engagement to sensitize farmers, to organize them, but also to give them opportunities. Recall that there are different value chains for different hubs. There are states that have comparative advantage in wheat, in maize, in cassava, rice. Others like Cross River, where we came from, even cocoa, is part of their value chain, cassava, and some of those crops. So for each of those crops, we know there are farmers there that are active, but we also know that there are huge challenges, either of low productivity due to lack of access to inputs of technology or innovation. But we also know there are challenges of marketing. For example, in Kaduna State, we were told of the tomato, which actually picked up and started. So these farmers will be organized, they will be supported. They will even have, the SAPZs will have outgrower schemes that will avail farmers with the opportunity, to produce in an offtake arrangements where marketing will not be an issue, but also key agronomic challenges will be addressed, going forward. Yes, the time is coming. There will be broad national consultations and sensitization programs that will tell people, from technical experts how these will be rolled out.
Can I conclude, therefore, that each zone has what it intends to concentrate on, and it will follow the value chain from beginning to end? Or will there be so there will be no cross-pollination between zones?
Well, of course, there will be cross-pollination between zones, because that is actually the idea. Because what I was saying, you don't want any zone or any hub, let me be very specific here, to lie idle. If you have a processing hub that concentrates on maize milling or tomato canning and so on and so forth, and for every reason, maybe drought or floods or something, and the products are not upcoming, you will not let that zone lie idle. You definitely will outsource, coordinate with others to make sure that you really, get the threshold of products that are required for those systems to operate efficiently. So there will also be sharing of lessons. As I rightly said, we are starting now with 7. As Ayo said in the beginning, we are coming with 10 other states in phase 2, which is $1 billion from the African Development Bank, from Badia, from Islamic Development Bank, and others. Hopefully we will cover Ekiti, Delta, Enugu, Gombe, Niger, Kebbi, Anambra, Plateau, and all those states. But we are trying to roll out what we call a multi-tranche financing.
Okay.
So that
My apologies. There are so many questions that I want to ask you, and we have limited time. One of the things that I always look out for, Dr. Kamara, is sustainability. How this will be sustained for a long time. And I know that that's the aspiration of the AfDB along with its own partners as well. So talking about the feedstock to the processing companies within the hub, can you tell us how those will be generated? Because if right now we are not producing enough feedstock for them, and we get to a point where we need more than double what we need at any given time, how do we meet the demands for the feedstock?
Definitely, I think one thing that I should also say is the SAPZ, or the Special Agro-Industry Processing Zone, is seeking to aggregate all of the bank's agricultural investments that are ongoing, but also those of others like IFAD. IFAD works a lot with farmers, and even the World Bank are engaging with us now for the upstream. Because, as I said in the beginning, you must scale up production to the extent that you will generate enough products of the right quality, to keep your hubs going. So that is definitely going to happen. But more importantly, on sustainability, because that is only one aspect. The second aspect is for these zones to be up and running. Development finance or development assistance is never going to be the answer, to developing a country forever. If anything, it should be seen as a catalyst, and that is how this program is designed. And that is why our own financing is going to go as equity for the government. We call it a design, build, and operate. So the contractors that we are bringing on board, or the companies, must have a track record and have an experience of having, built and operated and run an SAPZ, meaning that downstream we are going to have we're going to have them get equity in this, either as anchor investors that will attract tenants that will come with equity. And once you have the government to have a significant amount of equity, government has the say, because government makes the rules, government makes the regulations, government protects property rights, government also ensures, as you rightly said in the beginning, that there is that minimum level of security that ensures production to happen. And clearly, there are experiences that we can bring from elsewhere. I think in West Africa, Benin is a classical case. But for Ethiopia, where I am just coming from, I think you have all heard of the story of the wheat sufficiency in Ethiopia. I was there from 2017 to just last year when I came here. We started in 2018 with only 5,000 hectares of irrigated wheat in Ethiopia. The country by then was spending $850 million a year in wheat import. We distributed 60,000 metric tons of heat-tolerant wheat variety, because productivity was low, and then availed all these other, systems and inputs and structures that we are talking about. Of course, with the government in the lead, with government's huge import. Fast forward by 2022, Ethiopia became self-sufficient, zero wheat import. And by 2023, they already have signed contracts with Kenya and Djibouti to export wheat. It is not as easy as I am saying now, but it is doable, and we are very confident we'll do it in Nigeria.
Definitely not as easy, because according to Dr. Additional, this whole idea started in 2011, 2012, and this is more than 10 years now, and we're still talking about a groundbreaking. We're just talking about a groundbreaking in 2025, but better late than never. Give us some hope, Dr. Kamara. Alero spoke earlier about the high cost of food products in the markets. On the one hand, one of the challenges we have is that of logistics. That we have the challenge of post-harvest losses. But give us some hope. What will happen with a full-fledged SAPZ in any state?
I can't agree with you. You've said it all. But let me tell you that these agriculture, or even these special agro-industry processing zones, are not going to operate as enclaves. They are operating in this country. And clearly we know agriculture, as you rightly said, has risk, not only production, but also after the production, the forward linkage. And that is where issues of structural constraints come in. Infrastructure, we are talking of power, we are talking of roads. Even the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that we are talking about, a lot is done by the countries, reducing their tariffs or removing them and so on and so forth. But two things need to happen. First, you must produce over and above what you consume, domestic demand before ever you can export, so that the AfCFTA will do higher value, transactions. But more importantly, you have to build infrastructure to ensure that farmers can produce no matter where in the country, and that product can get to where the demand is, and still remain competitive. And that requires building roads, but also building power. In the power sector, the African Development Bank over the past 10 years, we spent over $400 million. We have the NTEP, the Nigeria Transmission Expansion, program, which clearly is helping the government, to bring efficiency and stability in the grid. But also we have the NEP, the National Electrification Program, which is $200 million, which is building 250 mini grids for connecting 5 million Nigerians, including 8 universities. And why are these important? These are important precisely because of the question you raised. Farmers produce, they can't process because there is no power. And even if they do, they can't store because there is no power. But even they do all that, there are no roads connecting them, to neighboring countries or to neighboring states where the demand is. So in terms of the roads as well, we are doing, the Ebonyi Ring Road project that is connecting that state to neighboring states of Enugu, and also connecting them to the Enugu-Bamenda Highway. So in the event that there is production that can be exported to other countries, clearly there's that connectivity. The Abia State Integrated Road Project and many others, including the Kanu Maradi that is upcoming. So we should have a holistic view of this SAPZ in the context of an economy where, all the sectors of the economy are interrelated.
One other thing that I would love very much to know. Alero asked earlier about so Alero Farms wants to get into an SAPZ. Mm-hmm. Is there a step? Is there a process of getting in? What is the minimum requirement for anyone to get in? When they get in, what are they expected to do? When you say private sector enabled, what does it mean? What's the private sector doing on the grounds? How did they get in? All of those. Is there a platform where people can get that information?
Yeah. We have different levels of private sector. Maybe I was more referring to the investors, basically, because one special agri-industry processing zone is several hundreds of millions of dollars. But of course, you always start with one level, maybe the hub and the agricultural transformation centers, and then you engage upstream, which is already happening with the farmers. So, and the farmers are private sector clearly in the broader sense, because they are producing, or even though they need more support. So, in terms of the investors, in other words, if you are an anchor investor, you are a contractor, you want to get involved, we have a rigorous bidding process that is administered by the country, by the Ministry of Agriculture. By the way, the SAPZ is not implemented by the African Development Bank. It is implemented by the government, by the federal government of Nigeria and the states, the beneficiary states. So we have a national coordination office here in Abuja in the Ministry of Agriculture. We also have state coordination offices in each of the states. And those states have zoned each of the local government areas and localities and so on and so forth in terms of their production potentials. So they are talking to the farmers at that level. So if I am an investor, I want to buy a stake in the SAPZs, for example, I want to buy equity or we are slowly getting there because the government, first of all, has to have something. And what is that something? That something is building the hub, but also the ATCs and clearly coming up with a model that will clearly give investors, an opportunity to see, what is there that the government is trying to sell, or what is there that creates an investment opportunity. Because, I mean, the one and only variable for private investors is always, profits, So clearly, this is going to fit together going forward.
Okay. Doctor, how much role will technology play in all of this to enhance the yield and all that?
Mm-hmm. Technology plays a very, very big role. Firstly, what we did, and that's why I said this program has bit of pieces. There's something that we call the TAT, Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation. We did that in 2016, 2017. For nearly all African countries, with the exception of a few, we are engaged with CGIAR centers. For example, in Nigeria, you have IITA, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, which studies all the crops in this country, and tries to look at productivity issues, farming, marketing, and so on in all the countries. And that is how we got to the heat-tolerant wheat variety in Ethiopia. So we've done that for this country. For example, the NAGs and the wheat story of Katsina and other states, as I was talking about, those are already using heat-tolerant wheat variety that increases productivity from 2.1, 2.2 tons per hectare to something like 3 to 4 tons per hectare, which has actually been a big, big hindrance that has been killing the sector. Of course, there are other innovations that it also comes with, including, engaging with the farmers, training, and so on, timeliness. But more importantly, the linkage also to the vagaries of nature, floods, droughts, and the like that agriculture is prone to. So technology will play a key role, and technology will not only play a role at the productivity level production, but also the post-harvest handling, the processing, the packaging, and so on and so forth. So I fully agree with you. Technology is central, and we are addressing this also through other programs. For example, you've heard of the IDICE, which is the Investing in Digital and Creative Infrastructure, which is trying to improve or enhance access to finance through different kinds of funds, innovation funds, technology funds, funds of funds, and so on. It is also trying to, improve entrepreneurial skills. We also have the Ekiti
I was
Knowledge Zone.
actually, my apologies, Dr. Kamara, I was actually going to take you up on, an entry level for the young people. And all of these that you said are nice, but a lot more technical. We'll find a way to break it all down so that the young man and the young woman watching right now can really embrace it and say, okay, indeed, this one is for me. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Dr. Abdul Kamara is DG Nigeria Office, African Development Bank. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ayo. Thanks for having me.
Okay. When we return, there is more. Stay with us.